Let's talk about creating a sensitivity label using the Azure Information Policy labels. Now I have logged in to my Azure here, as you can see, and to get to this location, normally you would use the menu here, and using your dashboard, find exactly what you want to look for. For example, most people would assume Security Center because it's security and sensitivity related. But you will notice, I don't have access. So the absolute easiest thing to do is to actually search for the resources and services. And when I type in information, there's my information protection. Now once I arrive here, along the left-hand side, there is a quick start guide, which is interesting. And it takes you through a little movie and it getting started. Well worthwhile looking at. But for us, what we actually want to do is under classifications, go to labels. Now I have already pre-configured some of these, and you can see the ones that I've done, but I'm going to add another one. Now, take note of a couple of things. Different labels are set up for different purposes. I have marking, which is really just a classification, and then I have protection, and protection does the encryption part of it. So we're going to add a new label, and we're going to turn it on, and what are we going to call it? I'm just going to call it Default Document Classification. And the description, all documents not otherwise labeled. And the color of that, we have a whole range of colors here. I'm going to pick orange. And the permissions, if they're going to be emails with this label, not configured, protect it, or remove the protection. I'm actually going to say not configured. Now, visual elements to identify that you've done this. I am going to have only a footer with this. I'm going to turn it on. And then here, I'm just going to say default internal document classification. And I'm going to make that 12 points. And font name. Now the default font I personally don't like, so I'm going to select custom, and I'm going to make it Verdana. And the footer color, we'll make it gray. And then the alignment will be centered. And will the documents that are classified have a watermark? I'm actually going to say no. No conditions to apply the label. I could have a variety of conditions, but for this one I'm not going to. And any notes for administration. Now that's as far as I'm going to do here. I'm going to come and save that. And I'm going to publish the save changes. Now even when I publish the save changes, they do occasionally take a while to populate through the environment. So you can see the little dots across the top. It is building this. Now notice this one was for marking only. It was not for encryption. Now there are other things that I can do. Now this one here, notice I haven't assigned a policy to it. Well, let's look at the two policies that we've got. We've got a global, and that's for everybody, and then human resources for just the human resources department use. So once we know that we have those labels and we have the policies, now we match the two. So let's select this one, right, which is the one we just made. And we're going to use the more actions, or the ellipse, and we're going to go into advanced settings. Now these are advanced settings that we could set for that one. And notice one of these is to audit the use. Now if you want to change that, just click in there and say false. Now just going to save and close that, and I'm going to return to my information protection. Now, how do I assign the policy for that? Well, let's go back. You can see there's the colors, there's the permissions, the visual marking, and conditions. There are no conditions, and the notes. So it's not there. So where do I assign the policy? Well, we need to find the policies themselves and apply the policy and then publish the policy. So let's go to Human Resources, and here are the labels. Now you will notice that one of the new labels has not come down yet in this list. So we have to wait till that populates, and then we can add or remove, or we can force it. So let's force it. Let's see if we can actually find it. Let's add or remove the labels, and there's the new one. But you must be careful. We're applying this to Human Resources. Is that where you want it? I am going to apply it here. So notice the policy for this default is applied to Human Resources. All of the others are applied to everybody else, or available to everybody else. So let's save that and say OK, and it's going to publish that out. Now that is creating a new sensitivity label and then applying a policy to the sensitivity label.